aliens? What would aliens want with gold?
Well, they'd want to set it up in a temple for some people to discover, looking for a crystal skull.
Don't never heard that before. Welcome everyone to this episode of Cheap Seat Critics Podcast, where today we are covering Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invasion. With me today we have.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks. And hey, if you're listening from, I don't even know where this movie takes place, Arizona, maybe. You can find us on Twitter or X or whatever the heck you call it, Blue Ski, which I prefer over Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. We're also on YouTube and Rumble if you like the visual side of things with our PNG tubers and a slideshow. But if you're not the biggest fan of that, we have tons of platforms you can listen to us audio-wise. We also have a LetterBoxd if you're interested in our averaged out graphs of numbers.
I would like to point out this is Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, not Alien Invasion.
Oh, thank you. I wrote
was
that down. I wrote it two different ways in my notes. That stinks. Okay,
I,
thank you.
I was going to ask, because I've seen it written a bunch of times both ways, and I think it is predominantly Alien Invaders, but I want to know where the other title came from.
Sounds right.
Alien Invaders. Sorry. My mistake. Anyway, we'll go with facts first, and then we'll go into histories, and then we'll go into coverage of the movie. It's going to be linear popcorn audience, just to keep you in the loop. And then we'll have kind of a question we had from the previous week that we'll ask again, and then ratings and summaries. So let's start with the facts. Release date for this movie was October 3rd, 2000. So, 363 days after
One
Witch's
day
Ghost?
off. Yeah.
Funny enough, audience, please take these with a grain of salt. Found them on the internet. Who knows how true or false they may be of these facts. I'm letting you know now because this next fact says the runtime of this movie is an hour and 14 minutes. Yet some other sites list this movie as an hour and 20 minutes, so I don't know where that extra 6 minutes comes from.
Yeah, and one of the films that I found was an hour and 7 minutes, so...
Yeah, hour and 7. So I don't know. Just letting you know there. But I didn't see anything that said like an extended cut or different versions of the film, so I don't know what that's taken in. I kind of would guess if it's a TV version and they have like fade to black for commercials, if that's counting in time. But that's the only thing I can think it could be. But next is the budget. I couldn't find a budget. However, on fandom.com, it says the budget was $15 million. However, they also listed that this movie had a box office. So I don't know if that's right. Because this movie was straight to VHS.
It might have had a limited theatrical run. Like, special 2 days, come see it here. It's like the way they do anime movies over here sometimes.
Possibly.
How big was the box office?
I didn't write it down. Because it was to me, I just saw it as a fake number. But, I don't know. Next is the movie's rated unrated. There's no rating for this. Its genre is family/mystery/sci-fi. And lo and behold, it's directed by Jim Stemstrom, who also directed Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, and Cyber Chase. Now, a couple fun facts for you. When Shaggy and Crystal are viewed from a distance, walking together and talking, and it's a scene where they're looking for the jackalope, or the big jackalope, the conversation Shaggy's having is about his encounter in the Witch's Ghost.
When it's in the background, like silent, kind of toned down volume bit?
Yeah, like the music's a lot louder than their conversation.
Yeah. What, do you know what he says?
No.
Oh.
That's why it's in the fun facts, not later in the coverage, because I would have probably written that down as a quote then. All right, next fact is at the beginning of the movie, the loud signal heard through the radio monitors is referencing the WOW signal, which was a strong narrow band radio signal heard in 1977 and is currently, or at the time, I guess, of this fact, the strongest candidate for an alien radio transmission.
It still is, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, you two are more history buffs than I am. So
Yes, I agree.
At least as of like 7 years ago, the last time I looked into the WoW signal. I don't know if there's been anything new since then.
this is the last Scooby-Doo animated production to be animated using hand-painted cells. All subsequent productions, beginning with Cyber Chase, are colored digitally from here on.
We shall miss the art form.
So probably a slightly different vibe.
This was also the last Scooby-Doo movie to be released before Hanna-Barbera Productions closed down in 2001 following the death of William Hanna.
Oh,
That makes me sad.
makes me
The
sad
end.
it's this movie.
Yeah, I'm sad about that too. It is the end of an era.
Yeah. Another fact, after Warner Brothers pushed their own writers on The Witch's Ghost, the crew were allowed freedom on this one, where Glenn Leopold was credited for story by to get the residuals he lost on the previous one, although he did suggest the American Southwest setting and the jackalope.
Really pushed for the jackalope, huh?
I guess so.
I guess.
Interesting. Wonder why.
You take the jackalope out of this movie, what's left?
Again, the
Nothing.
animal. Spoilers for coverage. The animal serves a point to the plot.
True. Last fact I have here. Sorry for keeping this sad with the facts. This is Mary Kay Brenham's last movie as Daphne Blake, where she died in 1999, and this 2000 film is dedicated in her memory. Her friend Greg Griffin provides the voice for Daphne Blake in all future Scooby-Doo movies.
Once again, unfortunate it's this film. Not the highest high to go off on.
Yeah, I mean that's the same feeling I have whenever I think of Captain Marvel movie and Stan Lee.
Oh. Well, did they film the Endgame one before Captain Marvel?
Yes, but
Okay.
his final one was that one. Like
I see.
that's the one that did the dedication at the beginning. You know.
That's true. Anywho, that's the facts I have. Do you two have any facts?
I do
No.
not.
Okay, well then with that we'll go to history. Let's start with the guy who, like last week, said he has the least amount. Let's go with writer.
Oh, all right. I never heard of this film. Having seen the movie, glad I never did.
Oh.
Man, you guys, your ratings are peaking.
I don't know. I still have quite a range left.
That is my history. I'm done.
Oh, all right.
Oh, okay. All right, Crimson.
All right, my history is not much more than that, really. I've seen this once before the coverage, so I've seen it twice now, and I don't really remember my first time watching it. It was almost watching a new movie for me. I remembered just fragments, bits and pieces, but that's about it.
Okay. And then I didn't own this movie, so I watched it as sparsely as Witch's Ghost, but I remember liking Witch's Ghost more. So this might be my third time seeing this movie, is my best guess, and I only remembered 30% of the movie probably. Like the first 20 minutes I think I remember the most. The everything after that couldn't recall.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. The beginning was the more memorable stuff. And some at the end.
Yeah. And with that, anything else before we go into the coverage?
No.
I got none, sir.
All right, cool. We'll go into the coverage, linear popcorn style. Start from the beginning of the movie and then wherever we would like. Let's start with Mr. First Timer Writer.
All right. I thought the satellites were NORAD before they introduced us to South. And I thought that was a cool cameo because I've actually seen the big satellite dishes once while driving through the big deserts and stuff like that in the American Southwest, as it were.
Ditto.
Yeah, and they are a sight to behold for sure. And I think introducing us to who are going to be our antagonists for the film pretty early on in such a casual way was a good idea. One of the phrases that I will have for the film.
I'm curious
What
who
was
put
the? Go
who
ahead.
put Steve in a bowling shirt.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know why.
His fashion sense.
Just stands out.
Maybe he likes to go bowling when he's not busy mining gold.
Possibly. And I believe in the credits, Steve is voiced by Mark Hamill.
Yes,
Yep.
I did read that somewhere.
Sounds nothing like Snakebite.
It's true.
No.
Mark Hamill, pretty talented dude, as it turns out.
Yeah. I think this voice, though, as Steve is easier to identify, though, than Snakebite, at least for me.
Well, this was a lot less exaggerated. The signal they find here in the beginning, what is it?
Great question. I don't know. Is it the mystery machine?
If it's picking up vehicles, then that's just stupid. Because there's vehicles in the town.
I thought it was supposed to be
It's not their helicopter.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be the two new characters that we're gonna get. Like that's their ship.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Crystal and Amber.
Yeah, I thought that was the signal they were getting.
Well, they said they got there a week ago.
Yeah, is it?
But their ship is not piloted by them. It's operating by something else. Could be robotic, but
Yeah, it could be autopilot. We don't know. They're the aliens, so technology understanding is limited to the fact that we don't understand it. The best faith interpretation is that was what was going on then, because if everything was happening like live, right, as we see it, it would be weird then that the South group was then be immediately spotted like in the desert trying to like chase them down or whatever after the mystery machine.
yeah. I'm trying to think, would it make more sense if the mystery machine? Because then they're in action to go at it in their ship or the helicopter would line up with that.
If they were detecting that, yes, but then I have problems about their job. So like
unless it's also just how far the radar is.
It's gonna unravel something something's gonna break no matter how we unravel this. So if that thing is detecting the mystery machine, they're not doing their job, and that's a problem because that's the whole point of them being out there. They got bored of doing their job.
Well, didn't they say it's also just scare people away from the location?
It is now, yeah. The alien stuff.
Yeah. So if the mystery machine's getting close to the cave, for them to go and scare them away.
Yes, but what had happened is they were driven that way by the sandstorm because for some reason they didn't pull over during a sandstorm.
Yeah.
But there's an alien ship that shines the light down on them, right? Like if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, the helicopter ship
overhead.
Yeah, we're sure it's the helicopter ship.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
It's not shaped the same as Amber and Crystal's ship, which is more like I don't know how to describe the shape, but it's like
more aerodynamic. Yeah, more aerodynamic manta ray-esque kind of ship. Okay, and that would line up too because the one we see here, this looks like one of the pictures from the conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Also, all the ships, there's so many different lightings of the ship. Like this first one is like this yellow spotlight, and then later it's a green beaming light, and then Amber and Crystal's ship is a blue light. I think that's it.
Yeah.
They all function differently, but
yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're all different. I don't know. My issue, if they were detecting the mystery machine, is how they could distinguish between that and like the mechanic Buck or Lester. Or there's no way to distinguish that that's an outsider and not just someone from the town they already are aware of.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. The radar could just be of a location outside of town.
It's a lot to read. And if it was on the theory of it was the actual spaceship, then I have an issue that they're not like actively digging into that throughout the movie.
Yeah.
That would be pretty big.
My slight issue with the radar that I found was, which might play more into the spaceship idea than the mystery machine, is it didn't look like the blip was on the outskirts of the radar, but a little bit inwards of it, and then just stayed there. So by the time it scanned around to get the first blip of it got to where it was fast and then stayed in its location. I don't think that would line up with the mystery machine.
That's true. They kept moving. And we don't know the range of the radar, so we don't know how far that distance is from the outside to where the blip showed up. Don't know if that's a mile, 2 miles, half a mile. Oh, yeah. So yeah, something's wrong with the radar. What it is, up to interpretation.
What I do like about the radar, though, is the transition usages it has as it follows like a clock wipe of the radar scan to transition.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I agree. Creative transition.
All right, with that, let's go to Crimson.
All right, we'll jump into the mystery machine where Shaggy and Scooby are starving and driving. Interesting. And I liked the joke of it's been 2 hours. Well, it's 14 hours for Scooby. Funny little joke. And everyone's a character. It's just
I think you brought it up in Witch's Ghost that you're like, they live in the mystery machine. This is a good point.
Yeah, this
that they're just sleeping in it.
Here they just show that they're actually doing that, and I kind of appreciate that a little bit actually, because it kind of shows what their day-to-day life is like traveling around the country.
Yeah, if only they took pit stops for restroom breaks.
It's not one of those kind of movies.
No. Fred, why do you always have to pair up with Daphne?
Let's see. I have a timestamp at 3 minutes and 18 seconds, kind of when they're on the bumpy road right before the spaceship reveal or look. It shows, I think Daphne says, "Do you hear that noise?" or something, and it's a freeze frame on Daphne and Fred. Like their animation just stops. Like the car's still shaking from the bump effect, but they're not moving at all.
Yeah, I felt like that happened a couple times in Witch's Ghost, and I think a couple times here where it kind of feels like cost cutting for animation, like doing as limited amount as required.
Yeah, and then it was weird for me to like try to piece it in my head. The spaceship we know now was a helicopter the whole time, and then when they get out of the van, Fred says it could have been a jet, or someone says it could have been a jet, and he goes, "Not like any jet I've ever seen. Did you see how fast it was?" It went as fast as the mystery machine. So is Fred implying that the mystery machine can go as fast as a jet?
No, I don't think Fred's implying that. I just think the writers thought something that's fast is a jet.
Yeah, I don't think this is a weird one, because if it's a helicopter, one, it would be making a very particular noise, and two, I think it would have flown off like a helicopter, which is not super fast.
Yeah, I'm fine that it's going the same pace as the car. That makes fine sense. And then it continues as they turn off and hit the cactus.
Yeah, they benefit from the fact that when they hit the cactus, it could have quickly turned off all of its lights and what have you, the whole display of it, and just disappeared into the night sky. But it would still be something that they would hear even after their crash. So there is some things working for it, but it's a lot of.
Well, Daphne does point out that she hears something. So are they outputting another noise that's louder than the blades of the helicopter to mask it? Because they don't answer that.
Helicopters are loud. And the wind it would take would displace the sandstorm to look unnatural.
Well, the dust storm has subsided at that point,
Yeah.
and the wind, the blades are hitting, I guess, the base dome or whatever of their spaceship cover, so it's not hitting the ground.
Well, then I have to question how this helicopter operates then if the blades are covered.
So
The blades aren't covered. It's just the base of the output of like the blades shooting, I guess, wind down onto the surface. The surface is the covering of the dome of their spaceship.
yeah, I also already went through the whole physics litany of it, and I'm not sure this thing will fly.
No, the wind would push down the helicopter.
Yeah. It's like blowing into an umbrella. It wouldn't
Yeah.
work.
Yep.
Unless it's some kind of mesh and it has holes. But again, that's not explained.
Yeah.
No, if they used what we kind of have now, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but fans that kind of spin and make like an image, a 3D image.
Oh yeah.
So if they did something like that where it's projected through the light to look like a UFO, that would be something, I guess.
That'd been something. Yeah. They have the toys of I think in Disneyland of like Doctor Strange toys that spin the light so it looks like you have the magic on your hand.
Cool. I haven't seen that.
Cool.
Anywho, let's go to Ryder.
Let's see. They crash, and I guess like again, quick introductions to the gang here. They are gonna split up. The Fred, Daphne, and I think it's actually Velma who kind of manipulates Scooby and Shaggy into staying, or did they talk themselves into staying? I don't remember.
She kind of reassures them.
Yeah.
They came up with the idea. She's like, very brave of you to stay.
Yeah, they said they didn't want to go walking in the desert at night because of snakes.
Yes. Okay. And then they switch jobs.
Scooby does
Alright.
the whole snake thing.
Okay. Yeah. And then they obviously they wanted to go after Velma's Scooby snack stash. So.
Yeah, but then that just plays into them of. It just turns into them. Oh, they're in the desert at night.
Yeah.
Which is what they said they didn't want to do, but that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, at least they're staying inside the car theoretically up until they step outside again. It's a little odd.
I guess the amazement of the jackalope overcoats their initial sense of fear.
I guess.
Yes, because they were
You wanna frame it that way?
they fought over the last Scooby snack, and then the jackalope runs off with it.
Yeah. I don't know. If they were that scared of snakes in the dark, they would just be like, "Oh, well, it's gone."
Well, it's a Scooby snack, so
I guess that's also true.
they'll do anything for a Scooby snack.
I guess that also answers a question we haven't covered in the past two Scooby movies. Are Scooby snacks named after Scooby in this universe, or is Scooby named after the snack?
Is that in any universe of Scooby-Doo? I feel like that's
I don't
never
know. They're just saying Scooby
answered.
snacks, and
I don't think
I
that's
feel
ever
like-
been stated in Scooby-Doo. At least
No.
nothing I've seen.
I totally am on the side that Scooby's named after the Scooby snacks. Otherwise, Scooby would be a part of this Scooby snack factory. If he's the name of it.
No idea.
I lean towards Scooby being named after it because it could have been one of Shaggy's like favorite snacks that was just happened to be accessible to dogs. And this is going with the whole Scooby's not an interdimensional being or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, we see Shaggy just eats dog biscuits.
Yeah, as we see in this film. But that was my assumption, I guess, before the film. He doesn't necessarily. It just happened to be one of Shaggy's favorite snacks, and then he named his dog Scooby after it.
Yeah.
Or possible, but not as exciting as he named the dog Scooby and then found treats named Scooby snacks.
Yeah. The other option is that maybe they got famous enough to solving mysteries that they named Scooby snacks after him.
Yeah,
a
but
Like this
possibility.
famous dog that's also a part of the mystery incorporated gang.
yeah,
So
that's
there's
a whole
Lots of
mystery on its own.
possibilities, no answers.
that's true. No answers.
Let's go to Crimson.
Something that I think is worse in Witch's Ghost, but I'm just going to bring it up here a little bit. Is Velma's the one that figures out the radiator thing? I feel like that's a Fred thing. And I know these are characters, they don't have to be one dimensional, like, oh, Fred has to figure out the technician stuff. It just feels like that's his place to do that.
Well, there is a line later in the movie where Shaggy says, "Stand aside, this is man's work."
Yeah, with standing up for a girl. How's that connected to what
Oh,
I said?
just titling gender roles.
I'm not
I
tying it to
think
gender roles. I'm tying it to character traits. That is something Fred would do.
I think I could see Velma doing it. She's very techie, hands-on, um, understanding mechanics. I think it's fine for her. It would be weird if it was Daphne, I guess, or I guess Shaggy or Scooby.
I don't think you can. I agree. I think it's possible Velma can do it. It just feels like the Fred thing.
Okay, I don't fully agree with that. I can see it totally fine if it is Fred versus Velma, but I'm also fine with it being Velma.
What do you think, Ryder?
I don't really take much of an issue with it because this van is everyone's livelihood. So I feel like they all would be familiar with it. Uh, if it was not the mystery machine, it was some random car, I'd probably be more inclined to see this as a Fred job. But seeing as this is their home, I'm fine with it.
Okay, you're sensing like Witch's ghost, like Velma just taking the other roles of the characters, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not that bad in this, but in this one, I think freaking Shaggy and Scooby take all the screen time, which is my issue with this one. That everyone gets sidelined except Shaggy and Scooby. Meanwhile, Fred and Daphne were sidelined in Witch's Ghost.
Uh,
I see.
yeah, I could agree with that.
Do you think this got an apple dumpling getting rides again kind of situation?
Similar vibes.
Too much of a good thing.
It's true. You're the die hero. You live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
What did we? So obviously, I kind of cracked a joke earlier. I think about the jackalope being very plot related.
I was questioning, Ryder, being your first time, I don't know if you had the same thought as I did because I didn't remember like anything in this movie. I was questioning if the jackalope was an alien.
No, I didn't. At least when I was first watching, I didn't question it as an alien at all.
Okay. It's just that Shaggy and Scooby knew of it and no one else believed that it was like real.
The jackalope?
Yeah, because they
Oh,
brought it up and
yeah, it's
someone said it was
true.
like those things are real, and then they're just kind of like laughing and scoffing at him
It maybe it's just
a
because
little.
I watched it when I was older. But obviously, as soon as Crystal and Albert showed up, I just went alien.
Oh,
Yeah, it was pretty on the nose for me.
do you think it was like a Mars Needs Mom? Yeah, they kind of went with the Mars Needs Mom's little thing about like, oh yeah, radio waves are old, so they just think everyone's from the '60s.
Yeah, that makes sense
I
though.
liked that.
That's a funny enough a trope, and I'm actually okay with that trope because it makes sense. Like the radio waves takes time to travel, so
Yeah,
Yeah, the jackalope being used as a device to progress, revealing the tunnel and stuff is, as Ryder put, kind of a pattern at this point with these VHS
animals.
films. Yeah, and I I'm trying to think of how they would fix it to make it make more sense. And the only thing I think of is like the scientists were feeding it, so it just knows where to get food. It's in the tunnel. but there's nothing backing that.
That's fair. It's so is this tunnel supposed to be is this tunnel an entrance they know about, or do they just haven't found this particular entrance?
By
I mean,
that
they're
you mean
patrolling it with the MPs.
the
so-
three?
The anyone in the group, because they said they stumble upon like a cavern and they dive down into a different way.
We never see him use this entrance or exit, so I can believe it's just connected. And Scooby and Shaggy did fire the jackalope past the gate.
Well, the
So-
aliens scare them out of the cave, so
Yeah.
they do know that
Oh, I guess I know the entrance.
entry
Never mind.
point.
Right. Okay.
They've had time to explore the caves there, from what it looks like.
I guess speaking of the aliens, I'll just say this now. Am I the only one who thinks it's a weird pacing thing to have the aliens like so fast shown at the beginning, and then they have a whole bit, and then they disappear for a long time?
I don't think so.
A pacing issue?
I don't know. I just like it's not a reveal scene, but it's like there's the monster of this movie, and then the monster's gone for a good chunk, like 20 minutes.
I think I would have agreed with that if we didn't see the spaceship beforehand. I think the spaceship
Yeah.
beforehand kind of settles the viewer into, oh, this is what we're in for.
True, for their introduction of like alien movie, especially with the beginning title, like going through past all the planets.
Yeah.
But I just mean like after Shaggy and Scooby wake up in the desert to see Crystal and Amber, the alien costumes don't come back for a long time, or just presence of them.
Yeah, because they haven't needed to, right? Like the idea that they're the costumes out here is to chase them away.
Yeah, they're digging for gold.
Yeah, so like it makes
What was the
there is logical sense for them to be in the costumes as the beginning here because they're too close to making the discovery.
Yeah. And then I guess the point of the abduction scene is just to scare them.
I have no idea what the point of the abduction scenes are.
I think it's supposed to scare them.
I think
It
it's supposed
really
to
had
scare
it-
them, but I have no fucking clue. I think it's a
I was
terrible
really
idea.
sold that Lester was in on it. And then he has nothing to do with it, but I was really sold that he was in on it because I think one of the issues of this movie is they give you too many red herrings. That don't it's not like Witch's Ghost
I
where
felt the
everyone's in on
opposite.
it. This is like there's so many people but no one's connected.
I felt the complete opposite to that. I felt like there wasn't enough red herrings. Because
Really?
to me, because like I said, I didn't really remember this movie, and I immediately guessed it was the scientists once we saw that there were 3 aliens. Like, oh, 3 aliens, 3 scientists, easy. So I was waiting through the movie, like, okay, what's a pairing of 3 people that would make sense? And the 2 people at the diner, that's just 2, and then what you throw in the mechanic, and that's 3. There was no cross pollination.
I see.
So
You went with your answer was already solved. Like you
to
already
me,
said.
I mean, I didn't know that as a definitive answer, but I was once I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Now I need to see what else there is. There weren't other trios. I think they needed
That's-
trios for red herrings.
I think that's a good point to just show, I guess for me, the pacing of it. Or maybe not pacing is what I'm going with, but the structure. If you're going to give your 3 to 3 answer that quickly, why have all these side things that don't connect?
Well, there's only 2 aliens that chase them, right?
At the beginning, yes.
In the cave, yeah.
Yeah, and there's
I
only,
said once they establish there's 3, which is the abduction scene.
Yeah.
Once they establish there's 3, I'm like, it's scientist.
Okay, yeah. I don't remember the abduction scene. They might build. I only thought there was 2 in that scene as well.
Well, it plays it off weird where there's 3 of them. And then when Scooby exits his gurney thing and they run around in circles, the third one's just gone
Oh, okay.
until the last part of that where the 3 are there.
All right.
But I thought the whole Lester putting Shaggy and Scooby on the roof to be abducted, I was like, okay, he's connected. connected somehow. And then
Oh,
the green paint on his hands to be something, and that was nothing. And then Buck being out and about with the flowers, I just thought that I wasn't really hinting that Dottie and Sarge were a thing from the diner. That was my weakest one, but
yeah. I thought Lester was putting them up as bait as well. Um, and I thought also that it damaged Scooby and Shaggy's intelligence to even accept that, because at this point they were chased by aliens and were twice.
yeah.
um,
Also the I don't know, the things to grab the chairs that they're sleeping in weren't like moving or swaying. It's like the exact length, width, I guess, of the chairs they're sitting in. So it seems very orchestrated that that's what they're functioned for.
yeah. I didn't see the old man as I didn't see Lester as a red herring. Once I learned he was not connected to that setup. Um, so Lester got debunked for me pretty early. Buck, I just saw as a needless red herring. Like, I didn't buy into it at all. I actually thought Buck was going to be the real government agent.
Oh, like a bow situation?
Yeah. And I was disappointed that he was just pressing flowers, because it feels like then the film just needlessly made him.
Put him there.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's not like the flower pressing was relevant to anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So Buck to me was the only one that was intended as a red herring, but I don't think they did a good job with that anyway.
Yeah, so I think the fact that they had three monsters was a real crutch for them for solving who the bad guys are. Because with one monster, you can have a bunch of red herrings, but
Oh, I
with
see.
three monsters, you have to set up three plausible connections, and
Yeah,
they didn't
who's
do that
working
with their
together?
red herrings. They didn't do that.
Yeah. I guess that's a good selling point for the movie, just a 3-3 link. They show it to you.
Mhm.
Man, being that quick of like I mean, for a kid, I don't know how smart that is to connect, but I just it does make it needless then, kind of sense.
Showing the scientists at the beginning, or
No, like
having three aliens.
after showing 3 aliens, then it's like why continue with the Buck or the Lester kind of stuff?
Well,
Because
they're
even when
still
Lester,
assuming as writers that you haven't figured it out yet.
yeah, because even when they drop off Lester, they're like, "Oh, you see the paint on his hands?" And I'm like, "Oh, green paint to the green alien costume," and then nothing. It's just he's painting.
Well, I mean, the writers still worked for you because you were still believing in those. You still were thinking the paint was relevant, so that's why they still stuck with it because you can
Yeah.
still get
Well,
people.
I saw it as more strength relevant to something connected to the aliens, not necessarily that these people are the aliens.
Didn't you say you
Like
thought they were involved in some manner,
somehow,
Lester?
like even unintentionally. Like Lester initially, like bringing people to his house to the aliens, I thought he was connected, and then Lester was like the strong one for me, but then he's nothing connected. Buck, I had that was just dumb. There was nothing there. Dottie being all hot for Fred, I thought something like that, but then Sarge's like waving her off and it's like not playing into that. So, because I'm like, I didn't know if they're like trying to split the group up in ways, but
Yeah, that could have been an interesting angle. I would have been, if that's the direction they chose to go, and I would have been interested if that, like, I would have interested to see how that would have played out.
I mean, even if they had three MPs, that would have been good. That would have given an alternative trio,
yeah,
but
that
they
would have
did two.
helped. Is one real it might be a real stretch. Is one to think that Crystal, Amber, and the Jackalope could be a 3 connection?
No.
Okay.
We don't really get any connection with the jackalope to them.
Just
Obviously, they use the jackalope as an excuse, but the jackalope has no interactions with them at
yeah,
all.
but I'm like, is okay. Could one also interpret it that it's playing like they're looking for that one? Like that's the dumb of their alien friend who got lost and like trying to find them.
I think that is reading way too much into what we have in front of us here.
Okay. Okay,
Because
okay.
even the jackalope stays. It's not like it gets
No,
sucked
yeah,
up.
that's alien. The
So,
jackalope's real. It's not an alien.
See, if the jackalope had been an alien, I think that would have been too much.
plus, I guess it's
Well,
overarching. What Crystal's objective really was, they're like
yeah,
the search for the signal, but what does that have to do with going into the gold mine?
I was just about to say that would have helped if the jackalope was an alien, and like Amber and Crystal are sent here to find it.
Well, yeah, that's not their mission at all.
No, it's not. But
No, their mission was to track the signal, which they should have gone to the satellites for, but instead they were interested in these caves for reasons that aren't provided.
no, I don't. Yeah,
I
weird.
yeah, it's definitely weird. Um, I what do we think of the theme song in this one? Jumping back a little bit.
I think this
Worst
one's
of
better
the
than Witch's
three.
Ghost. Oh, you say worst?
Yeah.
I think this is in the middle. I like it more than the Witch's Ghost, which I think was Billy Ray Cyrus writer said, but I
Yes.
don't like it as much as Zombie Island.
Not as good as Zombie Island, and I do think this one is better than Witch's Ghost.
It's not within a large margin. I view it very close to Witch's Ghost.
Yeah. We've already gone back and forth enough over music for a long time.
Yeah. Ryder, you and I are opposites on pretty much everything at this point.
Yeah, I remember.
uh,
Let's. Oh, I heard an
yeah, I did. I got one. This is Gus setting up for later. I would like to point out that these hover bikes the aliens are using are going vertical, up and down cliff sides and hills.
Yes,
So
and inside caves.
yeah. So I'm just laying the groundwork here. This might be important.
Good, good, because I think that's one of the things they don't explain what those are.
They attempt to, and it did not work.
All right, let's go to Crimson.
So Lester, he at the diner explains how he got probed and stuff, and I like how they silence the audio so you don't
Yeah,
get the gritty details on
but
what
then and
happened.
outside, that was
Yeah,
good
so I
censor.
found that amusing. Um, but what did happen to him? Is he just a kook, or did the scientists actually abduct him to scare him out of the town for some reason?
I because of how wary the town is to go out at night, I think they did actually abduct him and possibly a few other people.
Yeah, that's why the townsfolk are so afraid to go outside at night. They just know lights and sounds. At least that's
Okay.
what Dottie says in the diner.
Yeah. I was just
So
curious
it'd
which
make
side of the
yeah,
fence you guys were on with Lester's story.
it would
Uh,
make sense. This is kind of a little strength that Witch's Ghost didn't do, of scaring a couple people to keep the story going around, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So if they abducted Lester to keep that story, because this one actually scares. Well, I guess they both worked.
Well, they also
Different
take the
ways.
cattle and stuff.
Yeah,
That was also confirmed at the end. They took the cattle and sold them.
they sold them too.
Yeah,
yeah, they're just greedy.
it's
They
the
are
same thing I have with Witch's Ghost. The motivations suck. So bland.
Yeah, I find greed.
I think this one's more bland.
I don't know. Well, I guess it depends. Greed is a more understandable motivation, I guess, than the simple want for power. Because one is very, very intrinsically based into how society functions, and the other one's more very based on what has life circumstances done to you, kind of thing.
Well, with the three scientists here, their greed levels were through the roof. Too much for me because they saw aliens and they are scientists. They've gone through college presumably to get in this government position for alien research. And their first thought is, "Oh, let's sell it." Well, I'm like, okay, I don't believe you as characters anymore.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have wanted to.
I thought
You know how much more
Study it.
valuable those are than gold?
I thought they were
Yeah.
gonna. I thought they obviously were gonna get rich off of that, but I thought there was also the element of we could study that.
They never said
Maybe,
that.
but Steve did not play it off like that.
No,
Yes.
they said they were going to sell them.
And have the gold and keep their science jobs. And
I
they're
don't.
doing all this.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it because they are really greedy. So
Yeah, I forget the names of the other two, but the girl one was going to run away or something, and Steve stops her and says, "We got to get those aliens. You know how more valuable they are than gold?" And I went, "You think those two aliens are more valuable than all the stuff you have right now?"
Imagine how much we could sell them for. That's, I think what he says.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, you know how much more valuable stuff they are than gold. I took that as also scientific research. I didn't take that as
That's true.
necessarily.
He didn't say
greed.
dead or alive.
Yeah, I didn't take that as necessarily greed, but I definitely could see the greed aspect to it. So it wouldn't surprise me if it fell under that, but I thought that was the leeway, I guess, with regards to that.
I didn't look it up for this movie. Is self a real thing?
Don't know. I didn't look it up either. I just have seen the big dishes. That's all I know.
I mean, it's a believable acronym, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a believable acronym. I know we have NORAD, but I think that's more of the northern monitoring system.
Yes.
In God we trust, and all others we track.
I don't know who was that Crimson's last point?
Sure.
Or the place. Okay, let's go to writer.
All right. I like that Lester comes off as crazy conspiratorial, but he's not like absurd. Like he still gives them a comfortable place to sleep, unless you're Shaggy and Scooby, and he's kind of like he does not too cartoonish that he's unbelievable as a person.
Yeah.
I agree.
It comes around.
Also functioning. He
yeah,
doesn't have 5 beds in his house. Or
Yeah,
something.
it comes around. It comes across that he's like been around the block, and he's definitely perceived as like crazy, but he's still, he's not Joker level crazy or like
No,
lost his mind kind of crazy. He's definitely.
But he
all there.
doesn't fight like the FBI agent at the end of the movie to come back to his house to see the photos.
Which is funny.
He's not McGucket.
No, he's not McGucket. He's not
Yeah,
Joker.
I did like
he's not McGucket. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like the paintings bit though. I have proof. I have photos.
Yeah, that's a good sideline.
Subversion. Who was expecting paintings? Not I.
Yeah, especially if you use the word picture. He's technically correct, but I'm still, come on.
That images.
I have a cartoon animation error that I think is just pops up. I didn't write the timestamp for it, unfortunately, but it's when they're being abducted, Shaggy and Scooby, and they're on the on the trays, the gurneys. That's the word, and they're applying the suction cups, and they put one on Shaggy's neck, and they start getting a giggle fit. The alien pulls a lever, and it cuts back to Shaggy and Scooby exchanging glances, and now there's one on Shaggy's forehead.
Yeah, just continuity error where they put one there during the lever cut, I guess.
I guess that could work, but it does seem to just appear. Also, Scooby used his tail to press the button to unbuckle himself, but you can see on the gurney that each strap has its own button, but the one button he did
Evidently
both.
was the universal button. I had an issue with that.
Yeah.
And that he could even see it. He couldn't see it from where he was.
Yeah, and that it wasn't. Well, I guess you pointed out. Never mind, it's fixed. You unintentionally fixed one of my issues and just highlighted how bad another one of mine was. So.
What was fixed?
Oh, that the button just appeared.
Did the button appear?
No, that's why he said you fixed it.
Oh.
Like you said they were buttons for each strap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little blue button.
Yeah, so I assume you saw more than just the one that Scooby pressed.
Yes, okay, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
he has
were.
2 straps, and each one had a blue button at the end.
Yeah, I had a potential issue because the button just appeared there to me, but I was busy watching characters, not necessarily the gurney they were on. So I will
Gotcha.
accept that that's a problem that's fixed. I still take issue that that's still released all the restraints for him to get around and for both of them to cause a panic.
Yeah, but what was their plan? They're in a trapped
Jump
room.
off the ship.
Probably jump off the ship into the mine, I guess, is where they would have
Yeah.
ended up.
Get real confused.
Pretty sure the MPs would have killed them, though, because those two walk around with guns until they don't.
Guns. Scary.
They had guns in the first, right? When did they have guns?
Everything but the last sequence. They have guns for most of the interactions up until like the third act kicks on.
Okay. I thought the MP's voice. I mean, I guess the voices are fine, but I just don't think they fit those characters. They sounded too goofy.
I guess. I can see the point.
It seemed like silly voices.
I didn't.
Yeah, not like
I didn't hear.
hyper toned voices.
I didn't hear silly voices. I guess I heard stereotyped voices. Does that make sense?
Okay. Just like buff macho guy kind of thing?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
I already talked about how I didn't like Shaggy and Scooby just accepting sleeping outside, considering what had happened to them earlier that day. But the reason I have an issue with it is like they're cowards, so why would they do this?
Yeah, to be out in the elements
Yeah.
after an alien. Yeah.
Not to mention, night in the desert is typically cold, is my understanding.
It definitely depends on the desert. And yes.
Yeah, the two of them would have just slept on the floor.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me. It's like, why would they do that? Obviously, it's
Or pitch
for
the idea to swap with Daphne and Velma. That would have
For
been
the
cool.
ease of abduction.
That would have been cool if they swapped and Scooby and Shaggy got the bed and slept well, and we got to see the abduction with Daphne and Velma to give them more screen time. Since it's focused a lot on Scooby and Shaggy in this whole movie.
You'd have to put them on the roof, though, and how are you going to do that?
Just Shaggy and Scooby say, "Hey, no way, man. Can we have the beds?" And then Daphne and Velma just go, "Fine, you two take the beds," and they just swap.
I don't think Daphne would have done that. For outside?
I don't know. Maybe Daphne would have pestered, and then Fred could have said, "Hey, I'll take the roof, get the couch." Or, I don't know.
I agree
just to give the other side of the game more time.
Yeah, I agree with the root of wanting to give the other side of the game more time. I don't think I would have done it here. There's a few other places.
I'll get rid of the Shaggy song and just
that's a great idea. I'd love to get rid of.
Oh,
Shaggy
Groovy?
song. Yeah, absolutely.
What, you weren't interested in Baby Shaggy Jr.?
Shaggy Jr.
If I wasn't doing this for the podcast, I absolutely would have muted that part of the movie.
I do like the lyric in the song, though, that, it rhymes fairly well, but Shaggy saying everything in their house is going to be from 1969, which is the year Scooby-Doo was made. So I think that's a nice little tie-in.
Yeah, and that's also Shaggy's very much reminiscent, like, hipster vibe, which I think fits, because Crystal also has the 60s vibe because of all the radio signals.
Yeah. It's also weird that she's like...
year of the moon landing, and we're doing an Alien movie.
Ah. I like that, like isn't the right word to use. I found it interesting that Crystal thought all the attires from the 60s, and she looks very 60s. But then she looks at Shaggy, and Shaggy goes, "Yeah, it's in." And Shaggy's just in pants and a shirt. Is Shaggy's outfit very 60s looking?
The brown pants and
Baggy clothing was.
Yeah, the brown pants and colorful shirts were very much a 60s thing, yes.
Okay. Shaggy is pretty universal, but he does fit 60s.
I'm like, I don't think he's wearing bell bottoms in this movie.
No, they had more than just bell bottoms.
Well, no, yeah, but I'm just saying for his plain outfit, something to symbolize a little more of that '60s.
What are the
He would not stand out in the '60s as being off if he got plopped there.
Is the movie also imply that Shaggy always wears a belt?
I think so.
Right.
Because he puts in his shirt to look cool and like slicks his hair, but he has a belt on. And I went, does he always wear a belt then?
In Zombie Island, is there any belts in the briefcase or the
I
folded
don't
pants?
think so. I think
I
it's
don't know.
just the shirts and the strap to keep them in the lid.
Don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then
But
again,
his
the
shirt's
outfits
always
repainted
down,
these
so
characters. Oh.
yeah.
I mean, all the outfits of the gang are different in this one. Daphne, Velma, Fred.
They're all like dressed appropriately for the summer weather, so like they're not wearing the thick like coats and stuff like that.
Yeah, a big orange sweater.
What did we think of? I have to admit, it was a little weird seeing Scooby next to Crystal because Crystal looks like Amber. Amber looks like a normal dog.
Yeah,
I
golden
guess
retriever.
so.
I don't know. It was just odd for me because this is, I guess, a first for me. I maybe James Gunn does put a live action Scooby next to other real dogs, which would be really weird. But it was
Can't
definitely,
answer that right now.
yeah, I know. I just think it was weird for me here, so I can't imagine what it would be like in the live action version.
Yeah, I mean, Scooby is more cartoonish than Amber is in the facial features of a dog.
Yeah. And funny enough,
Certainly.
Amber's also a talking dog, just better at hiding it.
Wow. Who would have guessed?
What a great reaction from Fred.
That was awesome.
I
I think Fred. I think that's my funniest part of this movie is
that
Fred.
yeah, that is also my favorite joke.
It was a good one. Also, is Scooby an alien, but just doesn't know it?
I don't think so, but it's weird that it's not weird. The aliens, the scientists said they captured cattle, which walk on all fours. Yet when Scooby's captured, they put him on a gurney like a human, which I think is just like the funny bit of the cartoon kind of thing. But in my head, I'm like, do they put the cattle on the gurneys? But
That would
Don't
be
really know how they
impressive.
capture them.
yeah, I'm
I don't know
like,
if
do the aliens
they
think
put a
he's
sling under
human?
their bellies or something, like Jurassic Park? Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Uh,
don't think Scooby's an alien, but the fact that Scooby speaks oh, what's the terminology for it? Broken English?
Ringrish.
Yeah, Ringlish. God, I love that joke in I think it's in the original Scooby-Doo. Where are you? Where Scooby reads a sign, but the sign has all the R's, so he reads it totally normal.
Oh, I don't remember that.
That would be
That's a
funny.
good joke, though.
That's a good joke. Sounds like one. Love to see it. But yeah, no. On Scooby being an alien. Yeah. This film doesn't exactly help that case of him not being one. I do think there is some potential setups here for him being an alien.
They've added evidence you could apply
That's
for
true.
him being an alien. The only other talking dog we've ever met was an alien.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Is it
it
too?
could be that Scooby doesn't know it, and I'm fine with that.
I know it's, as I said, I think it's too fast how quick the aliens are introduced and then disappear. Is it too quick to show Crystal with like tech from space in her car?
They didn't need to show that because it
She's
never
Like, oh,
came into
photography
play.
gear. I'm like, no way.
Yeah,
It never came into play.
I saw the photography here. I just put 50 sets of quotation marks around it. That's exactly what, because that's what it is.
I think at most the camera bit, but yeah, the stuff in the car, get that out of there.
The stuff in the camera, sorry, stuff in the car, get it out. I think the camera bit was enough to imply what was going on. I do like that Amber has like, it was interesting that Amber had like no interest in Scooby at all.
That's fast. Yeah, because they're working together.
Yeah.
That Crystal's actually liking Shaggy and showing interest, and Amber's the opposite of slapping him with her tail.
And then it changes by the like the next scene that they're all together.
Well, yeah, Scooby gets kissed before Shaggy does.
It's true. So there's definitely a. Maybe it was more of a partnership talk off screen, like, "Hey, you can't be rude to him because we need them right now." That's kind of
He's
how
the
I
main
viewed that.
character. He's the title of the movie. You got to give him something.
Yeah, well,
Do you
no,
think?
more like they're
Yeah,
still trying to work the undercover angle, and I don't think they want to risk a animosity relationship.
do you think because Amber could speak English that Amber and Crystal's original ploy was to be two humans, but upon finding Shaggy and Scooby, Amber turned into a dog?
Not enough info, but in their alien forms, Amber looks like an animal alien,
I'm like, they're different
while Crystal's
species.
a humanoid alien. So I it's all guessing, but probably leaning human and dog form.
Amber's. Oh, I don't know. Crimson, I feel like you would know, writer. I'm sorry, I don't think it's your wheelhouse, but did Amber's alien form look similar to something?
Yes, it did, and I
I
was
feel
having
like
issues.
I couldn't tell if it
I
was like a
feel like
Pokemon or something from like Ben 10, or
I
it looks so similar.
My brain went to Ben 10 first, to be honest. So I think he does remind me. I don't know the monster. He just has a general design of like,
I'm like, is that what
it's a generic
Exhilarate looked
looking
with all the
alien.
gear on?
yeah, it's a generic looking alien. Like, oh, I think it's just like was the shape of the head and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
because
I
they're
couldn't tell.
Yeah,
I
accelerate
couldn't tell if it was
vibes.
from like Johnny Quest or something. Like it was. Oh, it just. Or what is that? What's the show? Oh my gosh, this is a sinister question. There's a show of a guy, or like they had it on Cartoon Network where he had like a little like section between commercials where he would talk and he kind of looked like a cat like. He was like black eye or like black fur around his eyes and like fangs. I think yellow ears. But he had like a
No idea.
co-host that looked like this alien.
Yeah, Scream Sinister.
Oh gosh, drat.
yeah. I thought Ben 10 when I saw the alien. I don't know anything else specific though. And you might be right, Crimson. It's just a generic looking alien that might have tipped the hand of it.
Could be.
What were the monsters that okay, this is going back to early 2000s Justice League. What were the monsters that Hawkwoman's people were fighting in that film? Because there was a whole arc about like
I
the
never saw that show.
yeah, there was a group of like
I
alien
can't
race of
remember.
monsters that they were fighting, and for some
Yeah,
reason I vaguely am reminded of that, but I think it's just because they were lizard people.
I can't recall.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very foggy in my head
Yeah.
because I've seen it once.
I guess going to the diner with Crystal driving Shaggy and Scooby back. I liked Fred sniffing Shaggy's
was funny.
water. Something was in there.
That was pretty good.
Do you think it was something was in there or that it's not water?
Um,
Because
I
it was.
I saw it as something in there, but it could be just like, is it alcohol or something?
Yeah.
I think he might just be doing a double check. Like he's not high, right? He's not. I think he's just checking on his friend.
I don't know. They said no food.
Oh yeah. So they thought something was wrong.
I slightly questioned if that was a human bottle of water or that's something that sustains Crystal.
I would guess human bottled water because she let them take it.
Yeah.
Also, water's pretty common for life from what we know so
I
far.
don't know.
So
You seen
we can
signs?
apply that to her. Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah.
I can't. I found it odd. I don't think it's breaking. But Shaggy and Scooby come out of the bathroom, and they got like their new looks, and they're cool. They're gonna hang out with Crystal and Amber. And Fred goes, "What's that smell?" When Shaggy goes, "Oh, some cologne I found in the bathroom." Do you think that's cologne
No.
in a place like this? What is it?
Probably
What
like
did you interpret it as?
Febreze. That's what I
I think it
thought.
was Febreze.
Febreze. Oh, that's such a fucking shaggy thing to do.
I'm
Grab some
like, what
Febreze.
sprays would you find in a bathroom? You'd find like Febreze.
In a middle of nowhere town.
Could be outside the realm of
Poopery?
possibilities. What'd you say?
Poopery.
Poopery.
Isn't that like a spray thing?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Oh, that's what I read it as. Is just some sort of air spray for the bathroom.
Yeah, best faith assumption I have is it was they just happen to have cologne on them and just never use it because they don't have the occasion.
That
Oh.
sounds a bit more far fetched to me.
Yeah, I know. Like I said,
If Shaggy pulled that out of his pocket and showed
I
Fred,
don't have
I'd go with that.
I don't have anything to infer with that. But yeah, they just say it's cologne found in the bathroom, and there is something to that. They're in a restaurant, so like people who work at restaurants definitely bring perfumes and stuff for themselves for like after the day or like whether if they're transitioning from working like in a particular kitchen shift to having to go like service people, they need to spruce up because people don't necessarily want to smell the work in the kitchen. So it's not an
Yeah.
impossibility that they just borrowed one of the workers' colognes, but that's even more far fetched because that would be stealing, and I don't think there would be up for thieving.
Now, just something I'm fine with, totally side thought of the movie. But for being in a desert with cactus, there's interactions with cactus. But did either of you two get a little like, just like, oh, interesting they didn't do that, of not having like spiked cactus part of the movie at all?
Uh, no, I mean, no, I didn't really think much of it. I mean, it's usually low hanging fruit to do something like that, but I don't.
I questioned it when Scooby pulled a flowered cactus to Amber, and I went, oh, he's not hurt by that.
Uh, your question was about whether the
Like
cactus.
they didn't use the gag of prickles of a
Someone being
cactus hurting
hurt by
someone.
a cactus.
Oh yeah. Well, I actually funny enough had to study cactus a lot. There is a lot of cactus out there that would provide plenty of variety and space for you not to get prickled with. It's interesting that they didn't do the gag though, because it's such a commonly used gag,
In the setting, yeah.
especially in cartoons.
The gag they use though is Shaggy and Scooby are in cactus costumes and point the aliens in a direction.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Not my favorite joke, but still funny. Especially since we find out that the aliens are humans, so it works doubly well.
Yeah.
And
Though
scientists.
it is weird that once the aliens left though, Shaggy and Scooby stayed there for them to return. But I guess just for the joke. And it's also a little funny that the aliens unveil Shaggy and Scooby, which is kind of the opposite of what they do to monsters.
Uh,
I guess that's an interesting point that if they did that to the aliens, they'd solve the case.
that's true. In one of the more, even though I don't like the song that plays, I actually do like the wedding look that they have in the song.
Oh, the tie-dye wedding?
Yeah, with everyone kind of in the like flowery, colorful outfits.
Yeah.
Because I actually do think that is a very very Shaggy-esque wedding.
Now, just to put it out, I don't know what makes it worse. Is that we've talked about the groovy song, and it's like, oh, mute it, cut it out, kind of thing. What about the second song in the movie? Like the aliens are here.
It's pretty forgettable.
It's forgettable.
Okay.
It's forgettable, but I understand why that one is playing because there's always seems to be a song that plays once the tension ramps up. Like in Zombie Island, that's when it plays Terror Time, And in The Witch's Ghost, we had
Hex Girls, and
Hex-
then what's the second one? just Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that would like
That
to
was closing at the end.
that
Yeah.
was the closing one. So I
But I guess the two song kind of thing.
yeah
The theme rendition and then 2 song numbers.
yeah there was no chase song in Witch's Ghost, was there?
Not a
No.
vocal track.
It was just the 2 Hex Girl songs.
Yeah, the only chasing song would be the Scooby-Doo song at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I guess all 3 of those have had that.
yeah, so it's fitting. I think the song, but it's not my favorite, and as you say, Crimson, it's forgettable.
I'm in agreement. It's also forgettable. I can't remember the beat or rhythm to the song.
I don't
I just remember like the aliens are here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
a
I know there was a
couple.
montage. That's it.
I remember a couple notes of the song, but yeah, it was kind of forgettable.
Yeah, it's got the alien like synthesizer sound that like every alien movie uses.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right.
Okay.
So, going to make a statement about Shaggy, and it was a word that didn't exist back then, and I don't want to say it, but I shall. What a simp.
Oh, Crimson said it.
That song, he would ditch the mystery gang. Like they're about to
That-
investigate, and he would ditch them.
Just to get to dinner by 6 or whatever. That yeah.
Yes. And then he left Scooby, and then they had to it'd be like, "Don't forget me."
That was a weird thing to add in the song. Just like don't forget Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I was like, "Geez, Shaggy, you're
Men
a
fell,
different person now."
Yeah, men fell really hard.
I do like though
Yeah.
that they showed the old original Scooby-Doo like gang in their running formation.
Running animations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice
I don't
homage.
know. Do you guys view it as a character thing? It's what
I
he's
see it
running through in
all-
his brain, so it is
Yeah,
what
it's
he's
all in his
thinking.
head.
I viewed he's daydreaming it for sure.
Showing his values.
I think it's okay because it's fictional in his head and he's like going past marriage and kids and everything, but his subconscious is still like, hey, don't forget about your best friend.
No.
I think it's
I think it's okay because it's fictional.
It's still
guess in
him
the universe.
concocting it, though.
yeah, he gets
Yeah, but it's kind of his first love, possibly. I think it's just crazy that he's not like he's so in love he's not hungry.
I think the not hungry part is what bothers me more than the song, because people can daydream whatever they want. It doesn't necessarily mean it's when they're going to act on it.
Yeah. And the sense of your head space of love, I don't know, like it's not upsetting his stomach. Like he's so in love he lost his appetite. That doesn't
Oh, no,
make sense.
It's just it's distracting him. I think
Yeah.
that's the angle they're going with. It's distracting him from even thinking about food.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie they're like, oh, it's been 2 hours, time to eat, and they've been abducted all night long.
Well, it shows how in love he is.
Yeah, it's
Also, Crystal's out of his league. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh,
Just gonna say it.
I don't know. I think Amber's more out of Scooby's league.
I think they both are.
they're well put together hippies. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why. Well, actually, how do you feel about it, Crimson? Because I assume you're leaning towards it affecting their
Oh,
characters.
a love question. Wonderful. You two take it away.
Well, I think he's referring to the daydream
The daydream
thing
yeah.
still. Because yeah, as you guys know, I dream all the time.
Yeah.
But what I think it is, it's like it's still your brain, subconscious or not, concocting these things, right? So there's got to be some level of truth behind it. And if he's willing to ditch the gang and ditch Scooby, even if he's reminded, don't forget about Scooby, it's still something he thought about doing. So
Yeah, but the some level of truth is that she's now a presence in his life around everything else he does.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's the truth matter. It's just a fiction of like ditching everyone at the point of getting to see her kind of thing.
So I think I get what you're getting at, Crimson. Now, I just wanted you to explain it just to make sure I understood. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. People daydream of stuff all the time they don't act on.
Not necessarily act on, but they would still feel, right? Like you
Um,
could have a dream, I would imagine, of you like breaking up with your girlfriend or whatever, and then you don't do it, but deep down you still feel like there's something missing in the relationship, right? That's how you would break down a dream like that.
it could be.
There's usually something at the core of it, right?
Yeah, there's always something at the core of it. So maybe Shaggy has been missing that love aspect of his life, and he would find that experience worthwhile. Not necessarily ditching the gang for, but something to like that would overshadow what he has with the gang for a while, which is I find fairly reasonable as far as a daydream is concerned. Like it's not that absurd to me. Like if he was killing members of the gang to get to her, that would be a little much, you know?
Oh man, that would be something to see.
That would be a little much. So in here, he's not, in his mind, he's not abandoning them like in sense of danger, even though if they're going on like mystery solving, he doesn't see that them in
It's
danger in the daydream. Like, because
the daydream still starts with him with the gang. It's not like he's with her and you see the gang outside a window and he pulls down a blind kind of thing.
yeah, like
Like it's him incorporating both.
yeah, the gang is with him at the wedding. So like they're not completely dismissed from his daydream.
Yeah,
They're
it
taking
kind of looked like Fred was his best man over Scooby, which I think is weird.
That's true.
It took so all this to say is it makes sense with the way they incorporate it. I don't think anything too absurd happens that I would write off the day. Like I don't think it damages his character to have the daydream.
Alrighty. Well, if that's the consensus, then I will go with it.
I
It's
mean, the point of
outside my
absurdity
element.
it gets to is Shaggy actually kisses Scooby. He's so in his daydream, and that's a physical in presence thing.
Oh, both of them did.
Yeah, that's that. See
Yeah.
that there is the lack of hunger getting to him. He's starting to hallucinate. But
I've tackled on it before in the previous two, but transitional usages in this one, they have copied stuff that they use. We touched on the radar one, but there's a fade to black at 1545. There's another fade to black at 1842. There is a left slide transition at 3058. So just the matched up transitional. There's another fade to black at 4752. So just the transitional usage that they use.
And at least being consistent with themselves.
Yeah. Also, fade to black helps Aaron on TV a lot more. This stuff.
this is more.
Rather
Oh
than
yeah, you don't want to
uppercuts.
fade to white.
Well,
Usually save that for dreams and stuff.
that's true.
I'm just saying when like watching a movie on TV, a fade to black usually cuts into a commercial break versus the abrupt scene change and then the animals are on TV or something.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a fade to black in TV, you can use that, but it's also not exclusively for commercial breaks.
That's true because you got to judge the timing. So, okay, let's go to gosh, I'm all over the place. I'll go with myself. It'd be great if I said that and actually knew what I was going to bring up.
I can jump
Hey,
somewhere.
well, you can right after I say at 3611, Scooby-Doo's the dogs wear joke again.
Yeah, it's consistent. What a through line.
However, he only does it once in this one. So it's done 3, 2, and 1. Will he say it in the next one? Who knows?
Was the Hound one in this one, or was that in Witch's Ghost?
Oh, you're right. Hounds.
That's in this, isn't it? So
Yes, I think so. I guess they did it twice. Slight alteration, but yeah, twice.
there you go, writer.
For my point.
Yeah, go
Probably.
ahead.
I again going back to the diner scene. Well, actually, no. I'm just gonna go continue forward. Buck. Buck's entrance is so like, I'm a bad guy. That's why I didn't buy that he was a bad guy at all.
It was very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the reason it's this sort of filmmaking, and it's funny because this is animation, but it's this sort of filmmaking that bothers me sometimes is when the director is like intentionally lying to you, like is intentionally giving you a red herring.
Oh, there's a problem when you're halfway through a movie and they introduce a new character who's a bad guy.
Shocker, shocker. I know. Can't wait to fucking watch that movie again. So I do like when the way the camera lingers on Buck when he watches them drive off with is it Rob from Self or Max from Self. So
the oil guy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like they watch like they linger on Buck watching them drive off. Like they're intentionally like playing up the suspicions on this character.
Yeah, he's gonna like place a
100%.
bomb in their van or something.
That would be something. Cheekies, I found a device in the car.
We can't go under 50 miles per hour.
Aros Cabrue.
Turns into an speed with the Scooby Gang.
Yeah. Crimson hasn't seen that, so I guess Shaggy and Scooby are so in love that it's just like face value. But Crystal and Amber, well, I guess Crystal being the voice, lying to Shaggy again and again, and Shaggy just being okay with it. I think it was too much. Yeah. Where he goes, hey, confession. We're not actually journalists. We're agents. And then, hey, confession. We're not agents from this planet.
Well, there's also the element of like with reasonable lies, right? Like you can understand why they lied. Meanwhile, there's unreasonable lies where it's like selfish lies, and then that's where you can kind of really hold it on somebody. But her lying about her position, that's a justifiable lie. That makes sense. I feel like both of them are.
But it got the first one I thought was like she's being very mischievous. She's like probing Scoop. Probing Shaggy and Scoop to like jump the fence with her to go get the photos after they'd just been kicked out, kind of thing. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm an agent." Like, just start with agent.
Well, I mean, her plan when she met them wasn't to do that, though.
Yeah, her plan was to jackal.
But then she got close to them and actually enjoyed hanging out, and then got the jackalope thing. So,
which I guess even more so, right? Or even though the jackalope's not in the scene, that animal is still playing to the plot of where they're going.
Yes, that like I said, that is also one of the things I tie to them. I absolutely think that he's extremely the jackalope's extremely plot relevant even when he's not on screen, because that jackalope is what enables this to happen.
Thank you, Glenn Leopold,
who fought to put the jackalope in this.
Fought to keep this in.
Why, I will never know. That I don't understand. What a weird thing. Real connection with that, I guess.
Let's go to Crimson now.
Alrighty. So the oil that Max gets is for the machinery in the mine. And this is where I feel like it made sense for Velma to be like, that's not the right kind of oil for the I forgot what the oil was even, what the excuse was for.
South
hydraulic press or hydraulic something.
The dishes or something.
That made sense. That's like something I would envision Velma being able to deduct, and I liked that.
Pretty reasonable.
Good little addition.
And the mud on their shoes. It's like, where do you get mud? Do they explain where the mud is from, though?
So,
like there's no mud pit.
Yeah, best I can assume is that it has something to do with the mining equipment, and I don't like it kicks up enough dust for it to stick onto their shoes like it's mud.
Or I mean, they could have oil spill on the floor, step in that, and it sticks to the the
I
dirt.
get, yeah.
There's some mining equipment that requires water, so maybe that
Well, they do
also
have
happens.
they have like a water tower down there.
Yeah, so it's not impossible. They didn't distinctly explain it though.
Okay.
The explanation was going to be the gorge, but then they go down there and say, "Oh, this gorge is dry." um,
Yeah, I doubt that the three of them sucked the water out.
Yeah, I'm thinking
I mean,
on a
Fred said it looked like it's been years since there was water.
yeah, I'm thinking on a your point about Amber and Crystal that keep lying to Shaggy. Uh, I think I forgive most of it mostly because I think they're reasonable lies given the situation they're in. At least for on their part, whether there's still Shaggy buying into it. Um,
He
I
seems unfazed.
yeah,
Like it's not like a shock. Like, oh, well, I accepted. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Like they didn't have that conversation. Shaggy just went like, okay.
well, I mean the third lie about her being not an agent from this planet, that reveal had already happened,
Yeah,
so
that one I'm fine with because it's like, okay, you got to get to that point. It's like understandable.
yeah. The government agent one, I think there would have been more of an interesting conversation there because if Shaggy is a remnant of the '60s era, which is extremely anti-government, I think it would have been more interesting to play off that dynamic of them not trusting each other for a few minutes and Crystal trying to get his trust back.
It'd been interesting if you said something like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay, you have a badge and everything," and then she's like, "Oh yeah, but I left it in the car," or something along that line.
That would have been too much. I'm thinking more like they
Oh,
just
you think that?
because
Like
But then
that
Shag,
she
she
has
had to
no
keep
proof to give.
perpetuating the lie.
yeah. So it would be something more like she apologized because she apologizes to him, right? In that scene.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think if she doesn't, then I think that's all I would need to add. Just make sure that she apologizes because she didn't want to because they seem like good people, but she's undercover.
Yeah.
So I think there's avenues to where it could work.
Yeah, I don't think she apologized. I think she just thanks him for accepting her.
Which is again, that's also good. But I think apologizing and then accepting would have been what I would have added in.
Hey, maybe they're not accustomed to, you know, earthly customs or whatever.
True.
Uh,
I know that's really
Well-
dumb. No, it's no way it's that. But
Crystal knows enough to give puppy dog eyes, that's for sure. Trying to get
over the
Shaggy
fence
and
with the
Scooby over
please?
the
Yeah.
fence. Please.
All right, Scoop, the girls are
puppy
asking.
eyes. Yeah, I did
I
like
like
that though.
the little homage a little more to classic Scooby-Doo at 4710 of them going through all the cave tunnels, like the classic door maze.
Yeah, that was fun.
Just a nice different way of doing it.
Yeah. Trying to think about. I know we talked about the MPs kind of patrolling the area. How big is this area? Because those two MPs find these two a lot. Do they
I
just patrol
don't-
that particular section of the fence, or
I think just the Scorpion Ridge area.
Yeah.
So any that big rock structure sticking out, I think that's it. Which looks like a scorpion, which cool.
Wow, that makes sense. Good
Yeah.
name.
But I think that's it. I don't necessarily know if they just go topside and that's what they patrol and like they leave the scientists or anything in the caves and everything. Because that could definitely limit their guard position.
I guess when they see the scientists, because Max gives the tour. I don't know if I missed something, so I guess correct me if I'm wrong. But the female scientist asked, "Where's Shaggy and Scooby, or Shaggy and the dog?" I don't remember which, but she named Shaggy and then whatever Scooby was. And at that point, they don't establish that she knows who either of them are. So I didn't know if that was like a mess up, that she obviously learned that being an alien, right? But
Wow.
it's never established on screen that she knows them.
They never said their names when they were abducted.
No.
That's a
And
good
the gang
point.
doesn't say their names either. around
Well,
them.
Max is
You
there
can
for
try
the
to
oil.
infer.
I guess Max is there for the oil to pick up. So unless he told them,
Which would be off-screen stuff.
yeah.
Which is fine as long as there's reasonable time off
At least
screen.
there's a connection somewhere.
Yeah, I think Max did overhear their names, so I think I'm okay with them knowing as
Well,
well by
Max was,
extension.
yeah, he was still there when they got picked up by Crystal and Amber before they got in the car with the oil. Because I was thinking, with all that oil in the backseat, I'm like, can you fit the 5 of them in that car? But then 2 of them are gone. So
Yeah, I don't have much of an issue because I think there's reason to assume that Max talked to them on the way to the South dishes. So like to see their headquarters for the tour. So there's a reasonable assumption that they had a conversation about who Shaggy and Scooby are and how they came up, and therefore by extension the other two would know their names.
yeah. But I see with what Crimson saying, yeah, she had no interaction with them, I guess, other than the alien costume prior, where they
Yeah.
didn't say names.
There was no interaction prior to where the names were given. Yeah.
And I guess while we're still in this scene, I liked the wasting government money joke. Funny.
Very fitting. Yeah. Uh, Also suspicious running into Buck just randomly in the open desert. Really feeling that pointless red herring again.
Yeah.
That's why I was
What's
hoping.
he doing?
Yeah.
Flowers.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping he was the actual government agent because he was investigating suspicious activity.
That'd be something.
Would be something. Give us another bow.
I'll tackle it now. The last 2 movies I didn't have a problem with at all. This movie's sound design is terrible. I don't know what it was. I just think there's the music's louder than the conversation. There's really screeching sound effects that are definitely the Shaggy in the scoop truck? I forget the name of it. But when Shaggy's like with Scooby and they're jousting, the other one that Steve's in, that noise is so loud.
Are you being a bit hyperbolic when you say terrible, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Wanted to establish that now because that sounded harsh for what you just described.
I don't
think
terrible's too
the
much,
sound
but
design was bad in here. The part where you said in the facts was the witch's ghost connection. That was because they were far away, and once they got closer, they were louder. But it does kind of stand out as being a little peculiar in that spot. But everything else you described didn't really stand out as being
no, there's
off.
and the Foley in the background, like when you first get to see Buck and they're talking to Max outside the mechanic store, the clangs of metal are persistent, just constant background noise. Or when they're in the diner, just constant chatter while you're trying to listen to Lester, and just all these noises throughout. And I guess at the small town, there's not a lot of things going on. I mean, at night you don't hear like animals or chirps or anything. It's just kind of dead quiet. And the dust storm doesn't have a lot of noise, just a little wind effects. I think it wasn't like deafening, but it just seems there's so much added stuff of noise in this movie.
I mean, that's what Foley's for. It's for background sounds. And if they make sense in the scene that they're in, like chatter in a diner or metal at a mechanic shop, I think they're fine.
I just don't think they were balanced well.
My only joke on the sound design stuff was, what about the rattlesnake and Shaggy making it together?
Oh, I guess he can
Professionals.
sound like a rattlesnake, yeah. And Scooby, still with the zombie element, said the accordion face, and then I guess Witch's ghost, he like makes himself look like the witch with all pointy, and this one he can turn into a snake.
Well, no, he also puffs up his head in the diner earlier in the film to kind of give the
the alien, yeah, the big brain look.
Yeah, I think it needs to be said again the importance of like, were the MPs carrying real guns? Because those just kind of disappear.
I don't think
real.
I don't. Yeah, I know they had walkie-talkies that they never used.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like the guns would have been useful. So that's why I'm like, there's a chance that they're not real. That's part of the costume show that they're doing. But they pulled them out with the intent to use them going into the cave when searching
But
for
they don't
Hammer.
get used, so
Yeah,
I don't really know if they're real or not.
yeah.
If they're used to scare or not. Unknown.
I don't know. Definitely would have raised attention or tone of the film if gunfire started going off.
Oh yeah, definitely would have
That's very
changed the
true.
feeling.
How often does gunfire go off in a Scooby-Doo show?
Depends on what Scooby-Doo show you're watching.
Newer stuff, probably like never, but the older stuff, they had guns, I think.
Yeah. Older stuff, had the Looney Tunes kind of thing, or Tom and Jerry, where someone would have a Tommy gun and just shoot wildly, and of course it's the outline of the character, but yeah.
It's true. You don't really see. I don't. Again, I don't remember much of the them interacting with guns all that much. So, I guess on
That was
this,
not commonplace.
yeah.
And then if you also want to go with, depending on the monster, if they have like an alien gun or a, like a blaster of some kind.
yeah. Definitely for this film, this would be our, I guess, our first sighting of guns, like being wielded on either case, real or not, which is interesting.
Did Snakebite have one while he was hunting? I don't remember.
No, I think he just had his fishing rod.
He just had his fishing rod
Okay.
and net.
All right.
Definitely gave up on the shooting fish in a barrel. For hunting his favorite catfish.
Oh, I noticed.
I mean, when he was inland.
Watching, I've seen Booze Brothers, the movie, and there's like a hillbilly guy who has a shotgun at Shaggy's head pretty much the whole movie.
Oh, there you
go. Let's see. I'm running low on notes. Is everyone else looking?
Oh, I'm like 2/3 of the way through my notes.
Oh man, dude, you got stuff to say.
I've got a few more as
well.
well.
I've been going linear for the most part.
I got several more as well, so I can keep going.
No, I guess my topics have been taken by others. So let's go with Crimson.
All right. We'll go with just a small little thing. Fred gets tumbled around the back of Lester's vehicle and gets paint on him. And then poof, the paint is gone later.
Like it was never there to begin with.
Not like he had a white jacket on or anything.
Yeah, no, white jackets are totally infallible. What are you talking about?
Yeah. White clothing.
I like the jackalope dick joke, I guess. I'm pretty sure that was a subtle dick joke / not subtle dick joke when he was talking with Shaggy was talking with Crystal.
Oh, the size of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
it probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is one.
And then I guess I have a question. Shaggy and Scooby never came across to me at any point in the story as characters who were seeking wealth. So I found the gold scene bit a bit odd.
I mean, their rationales of like we could buy a factory of Scooby snacks and stuff. I think they did enough to rationalize why they would care about the gold.
Springs?
Because they immediately applied the gold to what they're interested in.
I feel like they could have just pocketed a piece kind of thing, but no, I don't necessarily think it's something that's needed of them.
Okay.
Okay, you're saying it's not needed, but do you think it is of character?
Of Shaggy with Crystal and the explanation and the sphere, no. Scooby, doesn't have pockets, but I feel like Scooby's a little more mischievous to do something like that.
Shaggy has to pay for Shaggy Jr., okay? And that's going to cost a lot of money.
I think the reason that they genuinely don't... I think the only reason they don't grab, they don't come around to that conclusion is just because they're not given the time to. The aliens show up, right afterwards. Because I think you're right, they would have, I think, pocketed something if the aliens hadn't showed up, immediately right afterwards.
Yeah, I think the set to that is Fear and Just Run.
Yeah, and then the song kicks in. And we've all
Yeah,
talked
but
about
they
this.
did have the gold in their hand.
They did.
And I think they're too weak to carry that much gold too. That
Oh,
would be
all of it,
heavy.
yeah. You mean just what was in their hand, or
Yeah, yeah. What
Oh.
they're just holding is pretty heavy for
yeah?
them. Like that one nugget Shaggy was holding, that was probably like a 30-pound nugget
Pretty impressive lot.
for scrawny little Shaggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something. Oh, is there still more on it?
No. Go right ahead.
No. Okay. Something that is bugging me now, being 3 into this, I guess, sequence of films, is that the finale, like, fight is the same thing. In Zombie Island, it's the trio are trapped while Shaggy and Scooby are free. The Witch's Ghost, the trio are trapped and Shaggy and Scooby are free. This one, the trio are trapped and Shaggy and Scooby are free. It's the same thing. And I'm just not a fan of it. It's not dynamic.
Out of curiosity, are you only noticing this because we're watching them in sequence now? Or is it something that's always bugged you?
Watching it for the podcast.
That's fair. I also agree.
I think I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I'm in agreement because it's sidelined the other 3 characters, and I view each character as just equally important to the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an annoying pattern that's popped up.
Even with the more screen time given to Shaggy and Scooby of the Crystal and Amber thing in this movie being far more prominent, and I guess from Witch's Ghost, Velma being more prominent with Ravencroft, the characters in the background I feel like should have more to come off of the little time it's giving them.
Yeah, there should be a.
But if it's keeping the same structure, it's
Yeah, shockingly, B plots are important to your story.
Yeah. In this one, I guess Fred kind of shines, saving them from the trap. But I mean, it's just the same format that's bugging me. Of the trio trapped, and then those 2 are off doing whatever.
Yeah.
is it
I do like that he reverses the trap eventually, so that gives him something.
trapping the other 2, but isn't that something more of a Fred job? Or
Yeah.
Fred characteristic
Fred is
that
the
Shaggy
trapper.
took?
Yeah.
See, I'm going from the beginning of Witch's Ghost when they trap the 2 Viking dudes or whatever. I can still believe that Fred set it up. It's just Scooby's the one to let it loose, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This
he
one
was
is
the bait for the trap.
deliberately Shaggy did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Fred.
Fred has been taken a lot from these past 2. Zombie Island, not so much, I don't think. But
I think
he was very
these
different
2,
in Zombie Island, though.
Yeah, a lot of the reason for that is I don't think Fred is the typical draw to the group because Scooby, Shaggy are often like the main characters. They're the reason people used to watch this stuff and still do. Then Velma's usually the nerdy one, which a lot of people can like vibe with, and then there's Daphne because Daphne's the pretty one. Fred is the most generic of the group atypically as an archetype.
I always thought Fred was the leader.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But these past movies, there's no like, all right, gang, split up and look for clues.
Yeah, there is none of that. So he doesn't really have a leadership role to take in these films. So it's kind of reduced him, I think, as a character a bit overall.
Crimson, remind me, is that touched on in the Mystery Incorporated TV show?
Fred as a trapper or leader?
Like when Fred doesn't have something to do, it's a problem.
He usually has something to do. So in that show, they actually do a really good job balancing the gang. All of them getting their own screen time and objectives and character growths because they go through a lot of like drama in that show.
Oh yeah,
too.
that's a universal. That's an overarching storyline, not
What's-
episodic.
So
What show is that?
the Scooby-Doo Mystery
Scooby-Doo.
Incorporated cartoon,
Yeah.
not the live action
Okay.
fan pilot we saw.
They have
but the
Pitch
cartoon.
Black pitch black eyes, but very like tall, lanky bodies.
Yeah, it's one of the only Scooby-Doo shows that I can think of that actually has a through line through the seasons. It's not just one-off monster episodes.
We'll talk about it off the podcast because I might want to watch that one.
It's good.
You pitched it to me well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, they do a good job with him, and that iteration of Fred, they definitely lean a lot more into the trap side than the leader, but he is still the leader.
Well, that's his intro and the theme. He's just pushing a button, all these traps are falling down.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean
that's him.
he is he subscribed to Trap Monthly, I think is what the magazine was called.
That's awesome. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no trap. I mean, the traps in this aren't him.
I mean, what is Fred in this movie?
Yeah, in this one,
really-
he's funny in some bits.
Fred
Yeah,
has my favorite joke, and evidently he's a romantic because he bursts out into tears when Amber and Crystal have to leave. That is
I did like that.
that is
was
his
funny.
character.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was.
What wasn't funny was this rip off ET ending. Didn't like that.
And just an alien leaving.
Oh, the whole like
What's that?
farewell, the beam, the swelling music, the pause of like
Right.
looking at each other, the alien shooting off. It's,
I don't think
the
that's very
spaceship.
to ET.
That's not solely linked to ET. No.
not solely, but I think there's a lot, especially the go home that they referenced twice. I think it was kind of a reference to ET.
I think you're reaching a little bit, but
I'll say it's possible.
it's possible.
My point on that.
But yeah, I like that Shaggy and Scooby, when they're pushed into a corner, try to protect Crystal and Amber because that's who they are as characters. Like they will, when their backs are to the wall, they will stand up for their friends and the people they love. Yada yada. The good heroic, classic stuff that I tend to enjoy, and that somehow is forgotten in a lot of media today. That write your hero characters being heroic is good thing.
I like it, and the plus side to that is also that they're still shivering and scared. They're
Exactly.
not just full of confidence.
Yeah, it's not feigned confidence and bravado. They're doing it because their backs are against the wall, and I like that. And obviously, Crystal and Amber save them by transforming. So
Yeah.
Twice, because then that happens again when the MPs like forget what they saw a moment ago.
I know.
But
Yeah, it was a
must have
trick.
been nothing.
Or-
Yeah, it was a trick.
Uh,
Yeah, that was a bit of an absurd 180 on the MPs as characters, which is interesting to say because they're not much
yeah,
characters.
it was 180s on the small character archetypes they are.
Do they even have names?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, they're not even the MPs either. They're fake.
I'm like the credits, maybe, but I didn't write them down.
Let's see. The bad guy monologues that we get through here is excessive. I mean, Ravencroft was pretty extensive, but this was pretty long-winded. And
This is the
didn't
first
feel
one-
as satisfying either.
First one of the 3 movies that had 2 backstories.
What,
Because the
Finding the
previous one we
Cave
only had 1. And Lester.
and Lester. Okay. Yeah. So I'll ask what I asked in Witch's Ghost. Is this a good follow-up film?
For this one, no.
No.
Does it add anything? I don't think it adds anything. I think it kind of detracts.
That depends.
Uh,
We have a potential character through line for Shaggy and Scooby to be lonely now. So that's something, potentially. Don't know, though.
They didn't. I think Velma's still on the same plane. She hasn't really changed much at all. But Fred and Daphne are just there.
Fred and Daphne didn't progress in their
No.
relationship at all in this.
I don't. Shaggy and Scooby are the only 2 who really got anything new.
Yeah, and whether or not that moves forward, we'll find out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think this is a good follow-up.
No. Interesting.
Let's see. We find out that they stumble across an old mine, which the miners just barely missed all the gold. Should they have established a mine at some point in this to figure out as like a clue for the audience?
No, I think that's fine because they had the caves entrance that Shaggy and Scooby saw earlier on. So there's something there.
Yeah, but there's no reference to like this was an old mining town. No, there's nothing like hinting towards anything.
I think it's okay. I mean, it plays off kind of like this Zombie Island thing, though. It's like, 10 feet away, you would have found the grave of Moonscar. 10 feet away, you would have found this cave of gold.
A lot of gold.
I mean, it doesn't seem in their wheelhouse necessarily to do it, especially with these past movies, but there was no minor 49er reference.
No. Not that I picked up on. Maybe there was 49 nuggets in that cave.
That'd been something.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I think it's serviceable as far as world building is concerned, but lucky. I've heard that archetype before, ironically enough, about someone not digging deep enough by missing something like by 10 feet to get something. It's been a very familiar archetype that's used in a lot of underground mining related stories. It's been used. Let's see. I think it's been used in Star Wars too. Actually, I remember one of my favorite books referencing that. So
isn't that at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker?
No. About not digging 10 feet underground for a ship. Yeah, that's there.
I thought like the ship escaped through the crystal cave. I've seen that movie once.
There is, yeah, I guess it is in Rise of Skywalker too. It's kind of usually depends on the effectiveness of the trope or how prevalent it is. I think it's serviceable enough here because it gets the point across as to how it gives the bad guys backstory without having to necessarily flesh out the world behind them unnecessarily, if that makes sense.
Let's see. I have more bad guy questions. Why do they need to do this alien thing? Because at least in Witch's Ghost, their fake witch was to get profit for the town, to get tourism. This, you're like, it's to have people run away. I think just having MPs patrol an area would scare off anybody. You don't need the theatrics of the aliens.
Honestly,
I guess
yeah. That's why that ties into the question of like why abduct people at all.
You're actually bringing attention to the town that there's aliens.
Yeah. I mean, you scared them all inside, sure. They won't see the silly lights that you put up maybe when you're mining at night. Is that the goal? That whole angle is really underexplored and they underutilized. They don't really answer those questions.
I could just say it's government stuff because there's a military police out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Exactly.
so simple.
Yeah, exactly. Again, even that's not a defense because of that. Like they really needed to justify it, and they don't. Also, the hover bikes are crashed after Shaggy and Scooby's rampage in the tractor.
Oh, is that what you were bringing back?
Yeah. We see that they're like they were motorbikes.
Oh.
And no, it doesn't help them because those things were going like vertical. So
were they magnetized or something?
No, they were not.
Looking at my notes, I did have something else that I skimmed over. When they're entering the cave, kind of night-ish or whatever, when they enter the cave with Crystal and Amber, Shaggy and Scooby, Crystal's flashlight she's using is a yellow light to begin with. But then when they cut and turn the corner and she shines it on Shaggy and Scooby, it's white. So the coloring of her flashlight changes.
Is that when they were in the gold area?
Right before they get there, yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, maybe it's to not get the light lost in the color of the gold room. But if it's before that, then I don't know. I guess before we go too far, Springs, what do you think of what I said about the reason for the alien stuff?
Oh, the reason of the... I get, yeah, I think the MPs are enough, but this town doesn't seem like people would be going and questioning on their own. It's just like, oh yeah, just stay away from the area. Stay away from the area. But it helps explain like cover up to noises and anything. If they just know noises are going on, questioning, like, oh, we don't know what's going on over there. But just the talk of Lester and aliens and everything. It's like, oh, we just stay out for our own safety kind of thing.
Yeah.
It plays into that a little more.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that benefits them here is that they explicitly state, I think, that they do it as a means of helping to keep the townspeople in check if they get too probing or too questioning, because obviously there's those exceptions like Crystal and Amber, even though obviously they're aliens, that where they would cross over just because they're trying to take pictures and shit like that. So that might happen occasionally. We don't know how long they've been at this operation.
Yeah, they rule them more by fear than authority.
So there is some excuses, but I think MPs would handle most of them. And in the ones they don't, I think like the exceptions, those are the ones that they kidnap. Like Lester being the conspiracy theorist is really angry about the silent dishes. Maybe he went over the fence one too many times, so they decided to kidnap him. So we don't really know how long they've been at this, but it's pretty elaborate for what little we're given.
Yeah, for such a simple fix of just having the MPs instead. I don't know. Scooby jousting. I just wrote, is Scooby going to kill Steve? Is that the plan?
That is what I wrote down too. I'm like, wow, Scooby's gonna
Yeah.
straight about to kill somebody. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit much, I think.
And then Steve was found weighed, measured, and found wanting.
Yeah. Good reference. How do you guys would have liked in some future iteration or a future movie to see Crystal and Amber back?
No.
No, you think they're a good one-off thing?
Yeah. I think they're a good one-off thing. I didn't get too invested in them.
Okay, so you didn't buy the connections they had then?
Nah.
What about you, Ryder?
I didn't feel Crystal and Amber would be genuine. And Shaggy was very honeymoon phased with Scooby. Especially for a single day interaction.
So yeah, my opinion on this is I would be interested in seeing them back, but the dynamic I would explore is that just the more genuine aspect to their relationship, because now all the lies are gone. Pretty much, they know who each other are, who the other person is, and stuff like that. They know what's their core values. So I think there is room for something to tell. There's room for a story to be told there. Whether I would need it or not really. It would be fun to explore, but
okay. Yeah, I think I would like to see them return in some capacity. I think it would just be interesting, because they obviously did care for Shaggy and Scooby to some capacity. Obviously not to the degree that Scooby and Shaggy were, but I mean, they gave kisses. Crystal talked about how she's been looking for someone too. So I think there's enough to build up if they wanted to. I would not be opposed to seeing that.
there is a foundation
somewhere else.
There is a foundation here. So yeah, I'm not opposed to never seeing them again, but yep.
And then a stupid line by Max, who's supposed to be a smart scientist guy, is like, "Our luck is changing." Once Lester was talking to the government guys about proof, like, you're getting arrested for like kidnapping and a bunch of other charges, probably. What is changing for your luck, sir? Don't really understand what his excitement was there.
I don't know. I didn't get that either.
Yeah. So kind of a line I don't think they really needed, because it just made him even dumber than he already was.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the gang laughing at everything because they like know the meaning behind, the Lester's pictures, how suddenly the villains are happy because they're gonna get their proof, and they're laughing because they know the truth behind it. So I like that the gang's like having a laugh as an inside joke because they know what those are fruitless.
Yeah.
And then Buck the Champion fixing the van within the day and only charging $30. Not bad.
It's not bad.
I mean, it's a
Pretty
radiator
good.
fix, so hopefully not
Yeah, but
terrible.
mechanics upcharge up the wazoo, even in the late 90s, early 2000s.
That's true. So Buck's just a real hero. Is what you're
He's the
saying.
hero of the story. They would still be stuck there for the next movie.
Without him, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, you're looking writer. Springs is
yeah.
out.
I think I'm
Oh
out.
yeah, I'm bone dry.
I think I'm out.
All right. I guess last couple, the Scooby Snacks immediately cured them of their broken hearts.
Oh, where'd
which
Velma get that? Did she have a second secret stash?
part 2 of my complaint I was going to list. Why couldn't Scooby smell them? He is a dog.
I
don't
I
know.
legitimately think that is the thing. That Velma says she had another stash hidden away somewhere. So I do think she does somehow have another secret stash somewhere in there.
So, I mean, that's what we're to believe. She has another stash somewhere. But, yeah. What was the first thing? Oh, yeah, the snacks to cure their hearts. I wasn't a fan of that ending. I think it really just undid the
Everything.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred crying over their love. It's irrelevant because their love was hollow. It's worth a box of Scooby snacks. It's nothing. Didn't like that. I wish they removed that. It completely undercut it.
It also kind of slightly goes around that like full of love. They're not hungry or don't think about food, but heartbroken, food.
Need food.
Solved.
Depression eating, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do it. So it's too quick,
Ooh.
like in the sense of
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought, writer.
like it's I don't like it's a 180, but I don't mind them eating depressed. I think it's just too quick of a 180. Like they just write it off as fixed,
Yeah.
After I was gonna go off with something the writer said. Being that they skipped breakfast and didn't eat, how much running did they do after that?
Well, there's the whole chase sequence in the cave and over the valleys and stuff, getting chased by the hover bikes. So a good amount.
The only benefit we have is we know they ate at the diner the first night before they slept and got kidnapped.
Yeah.
So we know they've had at least a big meal, but
Okay. Because just something writers brought up before of like they eat so much. I think it was in Witch's Ghost that they just eat so much because they run all the time.
yeah, it's one of the like accepted excuses,
Yeah.
Is it consistent here? Probably not. I don't expect that to be consistent across everything we cover.
Yeah.
Cartoon,
Especially now in a
that-
cartoon world.
yeah.
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 Now live
That
action
was my note.
have at it, but
Mhm.
oh, that was it.
That was
Fresh
it.
out?
That was the last.
All right. If that's it, then we'll go to the big overarching question. Now that we have 3 films to talk about it, if need be, are these films connected? Are they one shared universe? Are they separate timelines? Are they not connected at all? How has this film changed that? Because I believe in Witch's Ghost, I said it was like an 80% yes that connected between Zombie Island and Witch's Ghost. Right now, I think I'm still about like an 80-85.
This one,
The only thing I really connected in this one is that Fred has blue eyes in this one, like he did in Zombie Island. So his eyes changed yet again.
this one feels the most disconnected of the 3. So I'm at 50-50 for this movie specifically. Like I could buy this being a part of the universe just as I could buy it not being a part of the universe.
Yeah, and I'm leaning a little with the fact I pulled up. I wish I going back, I should have written down like the subtitles or whatever of what Shaggy said to Crystal, because the fact is like it's connected to what happened in Witch's Ghost.
Yeah.
But
I guess for me, I still see this in the same universe. Timeline wise, I think it could be before Zombie Island. It could be after Witch's Ghost. I won't know until I find out what Sprinks just described being the the fact that was
yeah,
found. Because I couldn't find anything else in this movie that linked to anything. So I think it could fit anywhere unless that line is specifically defined. Then that would obviously go after Witch's Ghost.
Interesting that.
true. But
That's
if
my
it goes
stance.
with what you said last time during Witch's Ghost,
It would
thinking
still
that
be
it's
before Zombie Island events.
before Zombie Island, but after the Moat Monster scene, meaning
Yeah.
the zombie realization of real really
It's being
gets
undercut.
lesser.
I think
yeah.
I think Alien's a little bit different than Monster, but it is similar
Yeah.
in
There's
that aspect.
it's interesting that both these stories would fit better as prequels to Zombie Island, but again, it's that reveal of the monster being real that's undercut the most.
Yeah, but that's what really like solidifies the feel of Zombie Island, being kind of off of all those past Scooby-Doo shows to that one.
Good thing Zombie Island was the first one and not the third one.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh gosh, if this started with Alien Invaders, oh boy.
Well, if this was started with Witch's Ghost and then Alien Invasion, because apparently it's referenced, and then Zombie Island's the third one, I think Zombie Island would be down for me, anyways.
I think the story of Zombie Island holds up the most. It's just, again, the big reveal is what really takes away the feeling of that film.
Yeah. I think it'd also come bad if they put the budget of Zombie Island into Witch's Ghost, and the budget of Witch's Ghost is what Zombie Island came out with.
Yeah, that would be very different too.
Yeah.
So I guess we're lucky we got that one first.
I guess so.
But hey, Zombie Island, I don't think it would change, but Zombie Island music better than Alien Invaders music.
I mean, who knows? They could have cost more money to hire the guys that did that than
possibly
the later
Sky
ones.
Cycle over. I guess Scott, the guy who voiced Shaggy, sang the Groovy song. So
yeah.
Okie doke. Well, I guess that's where our stance is. I think we all gave our answers.
Yep.
Riders 50-50. Crimson, you're
same universe. It could be anywhere on the timeline unless defined. Then it would be after Witch's Ghost.
Okay, I'm like 85 for me. Okay, cool. With that, we'll go to summaries and ratings. Let's start with Crimson.
Alrighty, let's start with my subjective. I know I do it a lot, but I'll do it again. It is still Scooby-Doo, so there is a good chunk of enjoyment to be had. The reference nostalgia that I mentioned in Witch's Ghost is not here for this one, for this particular film. Obviously, there's Scooby-Doo nostalgia, but this particular film, I have no nostalgia tied to it. I didn't remember too much about it, and what I did remember is my feelings not really enjoying it that much, and it kind of carries over. It's a meh Scooby-Doo movie, and it feels like it could have just been a Scooby-Doo episode. It did not feel like it needed to be a Scooby-Doo movie. So with that said, it's a 5. It's fine. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Objectively, I think the bad guys so far are the worst of the 3 we've come across. Their main motivation being greed, which is fine in isolation, but I feel like it undercut them being scientists by wanting to sell the alien instead of studying it. So I think that was kind of a crack in their characters. In terms of writing, I think they failed utterly with the red herrings in this because they set up 3 monsters, so that would require 3 colluding suspects, and they didn't build up any of those in the town. That there wasn't anything you could deduce as a viewer to why, like the 2 people at the restaurant and the mechanic, why would those 3 collude? There's nothing you can connect between any 3 random people in the town. So I found that as a fail in the writing department for red herrings. I think Buck as a character, is Buck removable, actually? Is Buck removable, guys?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, we can add him to the list of removable characters.
Hold on. who's gonna fix the
other than
mystery machine?
fixing the car.
Yeah.
We could have that could just be a background person. They
It
could
could
be
be the
like
chef.
they could just be like we sent in the van to the mechanic shop. We don't need the mechanic for the mechanic shop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm sold. Yeah. We can get rid of him. Bucks are
Yeah.
removable.
All right. Buck's gone. As is here, he's removable. He doesn't add anything except a very lazy red herring. He's plopped in plucking flowers just for suspicion. He's very lazy as red herring. Lester's a decent red herring. Him putting Scooby and Shaggy on the roof as like a bait scenario for the audience to try to deduce that as something, I think is a decent through line for him. Obviously, it becomes into play who are the two people colluding with him if he was one of them, blah, 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 blah. Treading water, which wasn't thoroughly explained with the muddy feet. I'm going along. I do think the animation is cleaner in this than in Witch's Ghost, because I was talking about how they were coloring outside the lines in that one. This one, I didn't really catch any of that, so I do think it was cleaner in this. The music, comparatively to the other two, is worse, but by itself, I think is fine. It's not memorable or anything, but it's just surface level, whatever. I feel like I had more negatives to talk about, but Shaggy, Scooby's 180 on their romance, completely undercut at the end. I think Crystal and Amber as characters were interesting enough. I think they built them up enough to be interesting at the end. Not a fan that the trio kind of gets sidelined for Shaggy and Scooby here, but mostly Shaggy. And I'm rambling a lot. So it's a lot of and some bad. I was between a 5.5 and a 6, and I didn't compare my other numbers to this.
Your
I'm
first two
going.
are both 7s.
I mean podcast general,
Oh, okay.
not just Scooby-Doo.
I see.
I'm giving it a 6. Maybe I might change it to a 5.5 and recap that I'm at a 6.
Okie doke. Well, I'll go second. Funny enough, this reminds me of Witch's Ghost, a little echo. I'm giving it subjectively a 5 as well. I understand why I don't go out of my way to watch this one. It's Scooby-Doo, and I feel criminal somewhat, or disheartening myself if I gave it something lower. But I think Crimson pointed out very well, it just feels like a really stretched out episode. It's twice as long as it needs to be, kind of thing. And it's not a lot of filler kind of thing. I just wasn't as invested. And I think the Amber Crystal thing is a slight bore to me because it doesn't seem much of the mystery is there, or like it's still connected to the story, but it just doesn't seem like it feels like separate kind of thing. And I just don't think it fits for me. Which just goes against, the part of entertainment to be entertaining. And it was just, So 5 as well. Objectivity. I think the voice acting's still fine. I think the animation is fine. I think the cinematography, I've said it before, I'll say it again. In animation, it's a little harder for me to identify because the camera is, what's animated to it. But I think the cinematography frame choices are okay. I think the sound balancing is bad. I think the songs are unmemorable. I think the bad guys are dumb. I think more so, I think the bad guys' purpose of what they're doing is fine but loose. I think the plot is dumb. I think there's too many red herrings. I only laughed at like Fred's reactions and not like jokes like previous Scooby-Doo stuff, so I don't think there's much humor written well in this one. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? The lighting, there's I think it's followed like other Scooby-Doo things that we've covered, but this one's fine. There's little mistakes here, continuity errors of animation, but we've covered that in all of them. Shoot, I always forget something. But the purpose of the like helicopter craft wouldn't work. The motorcycle bike things don't work. So like the technology that they're using for their ploy of the bad guys don't function. But it's played across that it does function because it's like alien technology. So that's just a big goof. So overall, I have my objective score at a 4.5.
All right. Don't have to wait for recap. 5.5 is where I'm at.
Oh, did I change?
No, I thought more. I mean, you did bring up the technology stuff, but I was also forgetting some of the bad guy things that annoyed me. So 5.5.
All right, writer, that leaves you last.
That does leave me last, and my God,
Mr.
is
First
this?
Timer.
Yeah, my God, my subjective is a 5, and that hasn't changed. So,
Unison.
yeah, and this is my least favorite one so far. It it feels like a stretched out episode. The mystery was not really a mystery because of how easy everything seemed to be. Like to figure out, there wasn't the red herrings weren't well done. What the few that we had, um, and I I don't like when you're downplaying other characters in order to prop certain characters up. This is a common problem that you tend to have when you're trying to streamline a an ensemble story, which is kind of what these movies are because there's 5 of them in the gang. So I don't know. It just was my least favorite. It's my least favorite so far. Didn't have as much fun as I wished I did. For it being a Scooby Doo film. Um, Objectively, let's see what hasn't been mentioned. The plot's a mess. We have the convenience thing of the animal again. We're It's weird that everyone ended up in the same spot for the climax of the film, instead of ending up there naturally, kind of. That's come more on the pacing side of things. The bad guys have. I'm not going to repeat everything you guys have said. I have the same feelings towards the bad guys. The characters are all fine. Buck is removable. There's an argument again to with the nicks that are being done to Shaggy and Scooby, them being like overly dumb to comparatively to what it to help facilitate their kidnapping and stuff like that. Uh, and I think Daphne is also removable in this film, which is probably a more controversial take.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think she contributes anything to this
It's
film at all.
crazy
I'm
that
thinking
I
about it.
think I agree.
Yeah, she doesn't
That's
do
wild,
anything.
though.
Yeah, which is gonna lend it to where I'm landing here because one
That's
of
a
your
big problem.
yeah, one of
I
your
mean,
main
her and Fred don't even do anything.
yeah, one of your main
Oh.
characters is removable, and that for me is usually the sign that something's wrong with the film. Um, so there's most of the characters are intact, but we're trending towards bad here. I think I'm at a 4 objectively, which is the lowest end of my average scale. But it's a near thing. I think the Daphne blow is really what hurt me the most in this film.
Is that something we can talk about? Is she removable? Obviously, the only thing I could think of is she's a part of the gang, and they'd have to explain why she isn't there.
Yeah, she's filming Coast to Coast. I,
Well, that's if that fits in that timeline.
that's true, but I don't know. She's with her father on a cruise. Her parents are rich, but yeah, she doesn't do anything. How many lines does she have in this movie? It's also very sad to kind of like think of this being the last of the voice actors role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like her last name is this one, and it's like, this is your last one. Are you removable from this? It's
It is unfortunate that it's come to this. Ryder, I think you've convinced me. I think Buck and Daphne Blake of the Mystery Gang is removable from this film
It's
in isolation.
insane. That really solidifies a
Do you guys
problem with the movie.
do you guys want to change your ratings at all, or do you feel like
I'm thinking about it, actually. That's pretty big.
yeah? I was at a
I
was
think
at
I'm
a
okay at a 5 because she's
you're
still
you're
present there.
you're at a
like running around.
4.5 is what you said.
Oh, my objective, yeah, 4.5. I think that's.
Yeah.
Oh, you think it? Yeah, yeah. I
said
think my
objective.
sub
I
is
think
still the
it's-
same.
Yeah, my sub's the same. I think my objective is still the same because the movie doesn't change with or without her.
I
It's
mean,
just
that's
more
the
of a-
bad part.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
I
she
find that
doesn't
more
have an
subjective.
impact.
Yeah, It hits me
A
more
main
subjectively
character
than-
not having an impact in your story, that's big.
Yeah.
well, she's a
That's-
well-known name, but like other things get done without her, and there isn't anything like someone else is doing the damsel in distress move, unless we're saying that Crystal and Amber take that away from Daphne. Because in Zombie Island, well, then again, if it's in the future, but of the timeline, but Daphne's like doing self-defense moves with zombies. She's kicking butt.
Yeah.
Even more reason why this would be before the events of Zombie Island.
Yeah. I was at a
I mean, this.
I'll
Go
you know
ahead, sorry.
I was at an objective 5 for most of our coverage, and then I started thinking about how little we were talking about Daphne, and I'm like, oh, this might be more into characters than I thought. So
I'm also trying to think in the script we have, what could we have her do? And there isn't really anything they have laid out, I think, is a Daphne thing. But I think that goes into they should have accounted for that when writing.
yeah, Daphne's the main character consistently with the Mystery Gang. You have to account for that character being there and give them something to do. Like, maybe she notices something about the makeup of Crystal or something like that. There is stuff you can work in here that wouldn't necessarily be like wouldn't take away from other characters, but Daphne can
She
help.
tries to help Shaggy and Scooby with the feelings they're feeling or something.
Yeah, that could help incorporate with what she feels with Fred because of their non-committal relationship that they always seem to have. So like help them through that. That's something they could definitely do with her character.
All right, it might be an immediate reaction, but I will lower it to a 5, subject to bumping it back to a 5.5 on recap.
All right, that's very
Double change in this. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, it's just wild.
A nuke was dropped right at the end here.
Well, and it's crazy. People will be like, absolutely not. No way. It's Daphne Blake. Are you out of your mind? And it's like, rewatch the movie.
yeah.
We stated our case and laid out our evidence. I think there is enough to remove her. Are we consensus saying she's on the removable list?
I have
Because
my
it's a
hand raised,
consensus.
yes.
Yep, it's consensus.
All right, well, she is on the list with Buck.
Of this movie only.
Of this movie,
Yes, in
previous
isolation
two.
of this film.
yeah. Like I can think of stuff I would give her to do in this film, but I'm not the writers of this film. And
Wild.
Yeah, I know. And with that, gentlemen, shall I read us out?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Alrighty. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Goodpods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And if you have to be on our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching there and seeing our PNG Tubers slideshow. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I've been a Geeky Writer,
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Tulu.